Hi, I'm Frances Valintine, and I'm the founder of the Mind Lab by Unitech, which is an interactive learning environment for students of all ages and also for teachers. I'm a technology futurist, so what I do is I work with organisations, companies, with the government, and look at what does the world need in the future so that we have the talent pool ready for the roles of tomorrow. So I'm a member of Kea, and very proudly so. I started my international career back in 1990, maybe even earlier, and living overseas for a number of years, those connections back to New Zealand were incredibly important. And over the next few decades I spent a huge amount of my time offshore, but very committed to New Zealand and actually finding a place where my children grow up and hopefully stay and prosper and be successful. So being a member of Kea has the best of both worlds. It means I continue my network globally. I have points of call where I can, if I need to, reach out in almost any city in the world, but also being able to meet with people back here in New Zealand who have that worldly perspective. They have those global connections, wonderful networks. It's a fantastic organisation, and I think that the one connection between all of us is we're so fiercely proud to be connected with New Zealand. New Zealand has a number of massive challenges it's facing, and I think most of it's around talent. Given that my world revolves around keeping people and preparing people for the future, we often put on blinkers. I think that we have the view that things are pretty good right now, and so we're not necessarily looking forward and saying what are those big levers that are happening right now which are changing not just necessarily the types of businesses we're creating, but also things like logistics and distribution, new channels for marketing, new types of technology and platforms. And the problem with when these types of changes happen, disruptions happen, they come about so quickly, so that you don't get a long view. You can't sort of look 5 years into the future and say, well, we'll prepare for 5 years away. We have to prepare for next year. And when I talk to companies, so often they sort of know what they'll be doing next, but not necessarily what's going to happen just after that. So they may have a 1 or 2 year plan, but actually 3 or 4 years down the track, they may have never thought about things like how does artificial intelligence affect them in their business, or what does happen when a totally new form of distribution comes into the marketplace and actually challenges the status quo in their business. So I think New Zealanders is really interesting. In fact, just last week I was heard from a stat that actually there's only ever been 7 million New Zealanders ever. So actually 4.6 of them are alive today. So actually the majority of New Zealanders who ever lived live right now. And I think that's a really big point of difference. It means that we are such a young and youthful country that we can move and pivot on the spot. We can be, we can actually progress things quite quickly. And it does mean that we're not hindered by this huge legacy and tradition that many countries are burdened by. And so I think what we've really got to make sure we do is going forward, we use that agility that we have to really keep moving things forward. And I think that being a New Zealander, we have a certain amount of tenacity that actually means that we can kind of punch hard and kind of get through and perhaps don't always accept no as the first answer. So it's, I think it's a great time to be a New Zealander in the marketplace. So right now in New Zealand, I think that we're sitting at a sort of a tipping point. We have an ability to remove borders. Digital is clearly takes the need to actually distribute things physically across the world, and actually some of the IP and intellect that we can be really offering the world can be transferred both from New Zealand and offshore in return, without necessarily the idea that we've got to physically move goods. And I think that's something that we really should be embracing and pushing forward to really benefit and grow this country into the future.